Welcome back. This is Expresso only on SABC3, and this is time for your Expresso Youth Sport Update. We shift our focus to schoolboy rugby to kick things off, and probably the biggest surprise of the weekend out of a powerhouse lineup was Grey High's victory over Paul Ruiz. The side ranked top on last week's top 20 list that we broadcast. And to add to that, it happened on their home turf in Stellenbosch. There were also surprises of sorts in Worcester and Uitenhage, and Cares gave Affies a pretty tough old time of it, as Louis Botha did to Grey in Bloemfontein. And we have a look at that, HTS Middelburg and Centurion, and in Queenstown and up at Balgowan. Then in Uppington, there was something of a surprise when Uppington won their classic clash. And in Sandveld Henneman, they lost their first match since 2007, can you believe it? And their second in just 13 years. Unbelievable graphic, but some great games playing out, the season really getting interesting. Back home, or closer to home, here in the Western Cape, but like the weather on the day, Sax produced a mixed performance in seeing off a very impressive Stellenbosch High over the weekend. Stellenbosch, I think, really have emerged as the side to beat in the northern suburbs of Cape Town this year. After a 11-9 advantage at half-time, they weren't able to follow through and allowed Sax to fight back to a very well-earned 24-11 win. Sax's try scorers there, Chris Smith, who also added the conversions, and Cameron Calder, John Heinlein going over for Stellenbosch. Now, a very sad weekend for surfing South Africa. Junior surfer, after a terrible attack, and I think many of us have seen this in the news, a memorial for shark attack victim on a sad day for Team SA, and that at the Junior Surfing Championships. A very sad day for South African surfing. All the participants at the 2012 Daikeen ISA World Junior Surfing Championships, presented by Billabong, reserved a moment of silence to honor the memory of David Lillenveld, a Team South African bodyboarder in 2011. He was fatally injured in a terrible shark attack at Coral Bay near Cape Town on Thursday. ISA President Fernando Aguirre shared some heartfelt words with delegations of all 31 nations who lined up in a huge binding ring to acknowledge the tragic loss of a fellow waterman in true surfing style before the start of the 6-day action at the event. Our condolences go to his family and to all of the surfers who are going to miss this young man. But great to see such a groundswell of activity and people acknowledging his young life. And that's where we leave it in our youth sports segment for the first hour. In the second hour, we get into Super 15 rugby. Of course, chatting to Francois Hoogaard about his recent nomination as the RB Young Rugby Player of the Year. Welcome back to your youth sport here on Expresso, and we start off with schoolboy rugby. Probably the biggest surprise over the weekend in a powerhouse lineup of games was Grey High PE's victory over local lads Paul Ruiz. The side ranked top on our top 20 list that we released last week, and to boot, it happened on their home ground in Stellenbosch. There were also surprises of sorts in Worcester and Uitenhage, and Cares gave Affies a pretty tough old time of it. They do have a fantastic side this year. That as Louis Botha did to Grey in Bloemfontein. And we have a look at HTS Middelburg and Centurion also having a great weekend. And in Queenstown and up at Balgowan. Then up in Uppington, there was something of surprise when Uppington won their classic clash. Two fantastic performances there for that team over the weekend. And in the Sandveld Henneman game, they lost out their first match since 2007. Can you believe it? That's just their second loss in 13 years. What a victory. Now, bringing it a little closer to home, a bit like the weather on the day, the Sax first team produced a mixed performance in seeing off a very impressive Stellenbosch High over the weekend. Stellenbosch, I think they've emerged as probably the top side to beat in the northern suburbs in Cape Town this year. And after an 11-9 advantage at half-time, they weren't able to follow through. And Sax fought back hard to take a very hard-earned 24-11 win. The Sax try scorers there, Chris Smith and Cameron Calder, and John Heinlein coming over the line for Stellenbosch. Now, shifting gears, a very sad week for local surfing and a very sad day for South African surfing in general. All the participants in the 2012 Daikeen ISA World Junior Surfing Championships, presented by Billabong, observed a moment of silence to honor the memory of David Lillenveld. Of course, he was a team member of South Africa's bodyboarding outfit in 2011. He was fatally injured in a shark attack at Kogel Bay near Cape Town last week, Thursday. ISA President Fernando Aguirre shared some heartfelt words with the delegations of all 31 nations who lined up in a huge binding ring to acknowledge the tragic loss of a fellow waterman, a true surfing style. And that was great to see ahead of the start of the 6-day action-packed surfing event. And we'll bring you an update of those results a little bit later in the week. Thank you once again to all of our contributors, everyone sending through information about our school sports. You can keep them coming. Post those pics, post those videos on our Facebook page.
Stay with Expresso and SABC3. Stay with Expresso and SABC3.